America Online was a big thing when I was 13. Or in other words for my generation, AIM, which stood for, you guessed it, AOL Instant Messenger. It was around 2002, and I would have been a fresh 13-year-old in 8th grade. I had many times went into chat rooms by myself, or with friends just goofing around. Unfortunately, unsolicited photos were a thing then too, but usually you could stay clear of them by the chat room you entered. I didn't have any photos of myself, and back then you had to take a digital photo and upload it from your camera. Plus I was 13 and self-conscious, which I'm sure anyone can relate with. But one day, a guy popped up on my screen wanting to chat. It went fine at first. I was very naive back then, and we quickly fell into the pattern of talking. His name was Dave, and he lived in California. Eventually, him telling me he loved me, etc., but the problem was he was 19. Now, I wasn't proud of this at first, being 13. I just sent pictures of some random girl and said it was me. He instantly fell for me, telling me age is just a number and how mature I was. Now at this point, he didn't live in state, so there's never any chance of us meeting. Eventually he told me he and his mom were moving up to a city that was about an hour and a half away from me. He started begging me to see him and go to a movie, anything. I had to break the catfishing truth and say that those were not pictures of me, but of someone else. He was furious. He had been looking forward to a different type of child this whole time. Dave forgave me a few days later, saying, I still want to meet you because I love you. All the things you say to a young girl to get her to swoon. I think back and I'm like, wow, I was 13. So I told my best friend everything I had just explained above, and that I wanted her to go with me to meet him. There was a whole plan about him driving to see me and going to the movies to finally meet with what I thought was the love of my life. I had been brainwashed into believing this was normal. I didn't tell my mom, of course, and honestly, she didn't notice any of what was going on to begin with. So the day my friend and I were going to meet up with Dave, her mom came and picked us up from school. She said something that made my stomach drop into nothingness. She said, Chrissy, you are not going to the movies. You're not going to meet that man. You are going to get seriously hurt or kidnapped, and I can't allow you guys to go. I cried and cried because I honestly thought I could handle everything and that it would be fine. She told me she wasn't going to tell my mom, but I had to promise to never speak to him again and never plan to meet a stranger online. He ended up showing up and was upset that I wasn't there. He went on AIM, flying off the handle that I hadn't seen at that age. It scared me how close I was to this man being near me. I never talked to Dave again, but I easily believed I would have been kidnapped, or worse that day, if my best friend's mom hadn't stepped in. My mom would have been none the wiser. I was none the wiser, but I am here today and learned a dire lesson.